So you're going to have a new movie next summer with DreamWorks. When I read this, I was a little bit startled. Tell me about the movie.
Well, we're really excited about it. I think anytime you can partner and collaborate with DreamWorks and Jeffrey Katzenberg, you know, they're 16 for 16 animation. So the fact is that they are truly successful, and it brings a mainstream to our sport. You know, it reaches an age from 8 to 80, and that's real important to IndyCar right now. And it's also a feel-good movie where it's one of those motivational movies that when you or your kids leave that theater, you're just going to feel good. And it's just, we're real proud to have IndyCar and the Indy 500 a part of that.
Whose idea was it for them to make this movie?
It was definitely Jeffrey Katzenberg. I mean, I'll never forget the time my secretary came in and says, Jeffrey Katzenberg's on the phone. And I'm like, you're kidding me. So, you know, and he was very gracious and says, hey, listen, we want to do this with you and with the Indy 500, and we think that this is going to be a very big film for us. And as I have read all the scripts and seen all the amount of time that goes into a movie like this, they've already been working on it for over a year. So it's pretty fascinating.
Now, I don't want you to have to reveal anything that you're not supposed to at this point, because it doesn't come out till the summer of 2013.
And I'm sworn to secrecy.
Okay. But is there anything you could tell us about the movie, you know, that won't get you into trouble with Jerry?
Well, I think that, you know, some of the biggest things are some of the big stars that are going to be in it. Ryan Reynolds, Paul Giamatti, Samuel Jackson. I mean, it's
huge names.
Great names, and when you watch this film, it's just one of those that I'll never forget the first time I read the script. I got big tears running down my eyes, and my wife's going, "What are you doing?" But it's just one of those that it taps into your emotions, and you just want Turbo to win. And Turbo is a little snail who dreams of being an IndyCar driver and winning the Indy 500. And it's just a remarkable film.
And this is beginning your third season running IndyCar. What would be your take on the status right now of IndyCar?
I think that we've seen significant progress in the past 2 years. Last year we saw our ABC ratings and our NBC Sports Network ratings increase.
I think over 22%, something
yeah,
like
over
that,
22%,
average for
like,
TV ratings.
Yeah, I think on ABC alone we were up over 28%.
Right.
So I think that's really what is going to drive our sport, is when we can increase our viewership in those big numbers. Also, our live attendance was up over 10%. And I think what we've been able to do this year is bring more relevance and technology into our sport. We have a brand new car coming out this year, which has a lot more relevance and technology in it, that's actually been able to lure Honda, Chevy, and Lotus will all have engines next week at St. Petersburg, which brings a tremendous amount of money that brings in for activation and engaging and marketing their products. And I think what's real fun for me to see is these manufacturers and their engineers get involved, because there's so much relevance and research from going from a V8 to a V6, going from a 3.5 displacement down to a 2.2, using E85 ethanol, and these are direct fuel injection, all the turbocharge, all these are very important on really trying to get a lot more out of an engine with a lot less. And I think you're going to see 700, you know, upwards of 750 horsepower on your road and street courses. So it's pretty remarkable story to see how these guys build an engine.
I think you're going to also have a competition. Did I read correctly? An engine manufacturing competition?
Definitely.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the engine manufacturers will be competing for the manufacturers award, which will be whoever wins the most races, of course. And you know, I think all three of them are vying for it. I can tell you there's been a tremendous amount of work put in from the manufacturer standpoint on that. That's a big storyline, and I think the other big storyline that we have coming into this is our drivers. I mean, we have Dario Franchitti, who is one of the all-time greatest drivers. I mean, he's in the top 7 of all time. I mean, that puts him up there with AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti. And I think he's been overshadowed a little bit with some of the other storylines in the past, like Danica. And I think you'll see him really shine this year. And then we have Ruben Barrichello, who is one of the all-time greatest drivers of F1 moving over to us. I mean, to put him in perspective, he has 1.5 million Twitter followers. And you know, I don't think there's any driver in NASCAR or IndyCar that has that many Twitter followers. So I think that bringing those type of people to our sport drives tremendous credibility amongst fan bases about that we are delivering the best drivers in the world.
Social media has become a bigger part of all sports, and I no doubt auto racing too. How have some of your drivers interacted on social media to help build their brand and the brand of IndyCar?
It's been a great learning experience for me personally to see this, but some of our drivers are doing fantastic. Tony Kanaan has over 450,000 Twitter followers, and I think that how they engage with their fans and how they keep them engaged. I mean, we just went with from October to now without a race, but it's been very learning. It's been a big learning experience for me to see how we've been able to keep our fans engaged through the drivers using Twitter primarily and Facebook. And I think that that's going to be a very big and important part of sports going forward, because it humanizes these drivers. It's them on an everyday basis communicating with their fans. I think the other thing on the digital media side that is going to be very important to us is our new Verizon Indycar app. It's going to be like no other app I think that any sport has, from augmented reality that we'll be able to create to telemetry. This will be the very first time that as a fan you can sit in your home and actually see the same amount of telemetry that Roger Penske can see in his pit. It's always been kept so secretive, but like if you're following Will Power, and you'll be able to sit there and see right there on your app, on your phone, everything from his tire pressure to his heat of his engine to his fuel to his speed to his downforce. What we're trying to do is take this experience and let our fans see something that's always been kept so secretive, because there's so many millions of dollars spent on this. It's always been like that's how we get the upper advantage. And we've pretty much taken that back from the teams this year and said this has to become a very important part of our fan experience.
As you look ahead now into your third year running IndyCar, what do you think is your biggest challenge now? In other words, I go back when we were talking a couple of years ago when you first came to IndyCar after being a professional bull riding, and you were talking about, you know, building the brand, building up the audience, and the TV was a very big thing of what you were trying to do, improve the ratings. A lot of that's happened, or at least begun to happen. What do you see as your challenge for the next 12 months, your biggest challenge?
Our biggest challenge is going to be continuing to create the credibility amongst our drivers as the best drivers in the world, and making sure that we can get their stories out there, I think, and delivering them at the Dario Franchittis and the Will Powers and the Ruben Barrichellos and the Tony Kanaans. We have to I like a sport typically because I'm engaged with some of the athletes, and I know they're the best in the world. I mean, we all watch NFL because we know it's the best, and that's why USFL didn't work. And that's why the Continental Basketball League didn't work, because people want to see the best in the world. And I think that now that you are starting to see such a high quality of driver, it's going to really resonate in our viewership as well as our attendance.
What's the key to doing that, though, to getting the best drivers?
Money. That's not me. I mean, that's a big part of it. But in saying that, in fairness, you know, Ruben Barrichello, it wasn't about money. He loves to race, and Tony Kanaan convinced him to come over here and try our brand new race car, and we're very encouraged by the amount of people, from sponsors to team owners, getting involved in the Eyes Out IndyCar series, and I think it's really stepping up to be a really good year.